Welcome in, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is your Friday edition of Coast to Coast. I got myself, got McLovin, and, Stat Guy might show up. I think Pags is actually in the air this morning. So I think it's just us, but that actually works out because your team did some hilarious stuff, and I wanted your take on it because it made me laugh when it happened. So Jerry comes out and he's like, well, you know what? We're not sellers at the deadline. We're buyers.
Yeah.
And you buy a guy that can't get on the field for the Panthers. What the hell is happening over there?
Man, listen, I never trust anybody whose name is Mingo. I just don't trust them. I feel like they're like a shifty shoe salesman trying to sell me a pair of shoes that are too small and I can't wear.
Man, coming out with the slander immediately.
Hey,
No.
Listen. And the funny thing about it is his name sounds a lot like Wingo, and Wingo is a receiver for Texas, right?
Okay.
And so when I first said Mingo, I thought he said wing, and I'm like, wait a minute, he just came out of college. What did I? And then I said, oh, it's Mingo with an M, and I'm like, So then I had to look who this guy even was because I really didn't even know much about the guy.
So to be fair, they did have him highly graded on their board a year ago before he got drafted.
Yeah.
And he didn't have a great rookie campaign. I think he had 450 yards, 500 yards, something like that.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
So then this year he has 12 receptions total, right?
Yeah, which is not much.
No, it means he's not getting on the field.
He's probably like 2 to 3% of the snap counts. He's probably out there.
Yeah, maybe. But the worst part is you're not getting playing time. You're not getting playing time on the worst team in the league, and somehow
whoa. Nah, I know they're bad. Let's not go say the worst team in the league. That's
Panthers.
Pushing it a little bit.
No.
Pushing it a little bit.
The Panthers are the worst team in the league.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's the team he's not getting playing time on, right? So now he's going to come over here to Dallas. You have Dak on IR. You have CeeDee Lamb potentially missing this game. You have Parsons that isn't back yet. You got Cooper Rush getting the start. 2 years ago, played decent, right? Went 5-1. This isn't a recipe for success here. And then you go and get Mingo, who can't get on the field on the worst team in the league. I don't know how this is supposed to move the needle for your team.
Well, first of all, our team is in cardiac freaking arrest. So, look, I don't think there's enough life support in either one of our lungs that can give enough CPR to bring this damn team back to life. So, yeah, here's the thing. I don't get it. Number one, we should be sellers because the product we have isn't good enough to do a damn thing anyway. Our coaching staff sucks ass.
Well, that's right
a bright spot. Maybe our kicking game. Our kicking game's pretty good. Aubrey and Anger, good punters, good place kickers.
Yeah, well, but that was the biggest thing for me, right? Is your coach is an obvious, firing at the end of the year. Well, not even a firing, right? They're just not going to renew his contract because contract's up.
Yeah.
So, what do you? Obviously, this Mingo thing is something for the future, right? But I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. And they gave him a fourth. D-Hop went for a fifth. I mean, you could have went and got somebody.
Oh, I know. And that's the thing, man. Honestly, to be honest with you, I am glad that Jerry didn't pull the trigger on D-Hop. And the reason why is, if you're pulling trigger, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs or you're that one team that's just that one guy, maybe that one guy away from really just over the freaking top with it, then yeah, it makes sense to go after a guy like D-Hop who's in the latter stages of his career, but he still commands a cornerback presence, right? Like a good presence over there, right? Which makes it easier for Kelsey and so forth.
So,
but
sorry,
go ahead.
So before you go on with that, you don't think that D-Hop can make the transition like Larry Fitzgerald, move into the slot? Because he still runs an incredible route tree, has fantastic hands.
I understand all that.
He may
but that's talking about a niche spot where maybe that's just what you need to push you over the top. Look, I'm not paying D-Hop money at the end of his, getting close to the end of his career when I got a team that sucks ass and I don't need to get older. I need to get younger. So if I'm going to invest money, I'm not going to invest money because where D-Hop, where he can help a team, he can't help the Cowboys. There's
You know,
not enough D-Hop in the world that can help the Cowboys.
you know
So
what'll make you more mad about that?
money.
Here's what'll make you more mad about that. You know who's paying his salary? Tennessee.
And and if the Cowboys want to take on, yeah, okay, well, okay, and that's okay. That's put another. No, now that takes the conversation in a different way, and I didn't realize that Tennessee was on the hook for that. So, yeah, okay, if that's the case. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter whether you get him for free or you don't get him for free. It's not going to resurrect this damn team. So stop. So in actuality, that even if Tennessee's paying his money, it's going to take playing time away from the younger guys who need the exposure to see what the hell they actually have. Because let's be honest, this season's done for Dallas.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah. So but, I'm looking at look, Mark
every team can use a good slot guy. Every team.
Well, I understand all that. Believe me, I understand that, but I need to find out what I have, what in house before I start looking out of house. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if he's not going to get me to the playoffs, it doesn't make sense for me to bring him in. I'd rather evaluate, because at the end of the day, this is an evaluation year now for the Cowboys. This is no longer I'm in contention. Now I'm in evaluation because now I got to see. Number one, I'm going to get a new coach. So I got to see what talent I have actually out there. So let me give this guy some playing time, see what he has. So when the new coach comes in, I got all this game tape on him, and he can figure out what direction he wants to go. But if I put D-Hop in there, that's going to start all that.
I guess what my point is you go get Mingo, who is a slot guy.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Mm-hmm.
Right? For a fourth, where you could have had D-Hop, who still has years left on him, for a conditional fifth.
Oh, no,
and you don't have to pay him.
I totally trust me. If it was a nail, that should hit me right dead in the forehead. I get it, dude. Trust me. I get your point, and that's why I don't even think bringing Mingo in. If they want to bring him in, that's fine. If you want to bring him in off the waiver wire or whatever, see what he's got. Okay, that's great. But I'm not going to give up a fourth rounder for this guy because there may be somebody in the fourth round that I really need more than this guy who's barely even been on the field. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to give up a fourth. That's kind of that transitional period of could be a really good guy or maybe an experiment, right?
Well, it feels a lot like Trey Lance.
Oh, yeah.
Where, because you gave up a fourth for him also, but he was a, largely sought after first round pick, right? Niners gave up a fortune to go get him. Mingo was a second rounder, I believe. Right. So I think they're looking at it as, hey, we can maybe develop him into something. That's why I say I think this was a trade for the future. But the thing is you'll only control his salary for 2 more years, or him being on the team. And you guys don't develop talent at all. Like you guys don't go there to get better.
No, I trust me.
They're either good when they get there, or they're good and then they go there, but you guys don't cultivate talent.
Yeah. Oh, we can bring, and that's the thing, man. I don't understand, man. Jerry, he has all this damn money. He should be bringing in talent. The guy is like a great businessman, but when it comes to sports, I don't know, man. He gets so stingy with his money. I'm like, bro, pay these motherfuckers. Shit.
Well, you guys had
or bring somebody in of value, like Roquan Smith when he went to Baltimore. They could have traded. I mean, I would love to have that guy on our team. I think he's a really good defensive presence. Nothing on that. Or anybody else for that matter. Like you said, D-Hop, we didn't go after him. Hell, Cooper Kupp is out there. The Rams have been shopping Cooper Kupp for a while now. They could have. Cooper Kupp's got a lot of. I'd rather have Cooper Kupp than D-Hop.
You couldn't have paid Kupp. You couldn't have paid.
Oh, no, they're gonna pay Kupp. Oh, for sure.
No. I mean, you guys couldn't have.
No, not with this hard cap, right?
Yeah, no, you guys didn't have the cap space, but you guys absolutely could have went and grabbed a D-Hop or something like that. The other thing is you could have went and got Derrick Henry had you been proactive about Dak's contract. If you were going to pay him anyway, if you were going to walk away from it, I get it, right? Dragging your feet, sure. But if you were going to pay him anyway, why wouldn't you do his contract at the end of last year? Because then you free up the money that you could have paid Derrick Henry. Because it's not like they gave him crazy money.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to bring in freaking Dalvin Cook, why would you not go after a Derrick Henry?
Yeah.
I mean, Henry's much more viable than Dalvin Cook is currently. They even elevated him from the practice squad, and he still hasn't done anything for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones is the problem. Good shot. Yeah, it is. No, he is exactly right. Look, that's the fundamental thing, right? Because what we're talking about, Bo, we're talking about a whole bunch of symptoms, but we're not talking about the freaking root of everything. And the root goes to freaking Jerry freaking Jones.
So, the hardest part about Jerry, I mean, it's his antics during the year and craving the spotlight all the time. Like, all of that is a real distraction, no question. But the hardest thing with moving on from Jerry is he's actually really good in the draft.
Yeah.
Like, it's the one thing he does really good. But if he could just do the draft, bring talent in the door, and then just go to Fiji for the rest of the year, would probably be beneficial to the team to get him out of there, let the coach be the coach. But he still has a really good eye for bringing in talent. They just can't develop talent, right? Like, they can't get a project guy and make him better. They need a guy that was a home run from the jump.
Yes. I mean, that's the same way. I look at the Dallas Cowboys, much like I look at the New York Yankees. They kind of have that same approach. New York really doesn't develop talent. They bring in a lot of free agents, but they don't really do a whole lot in the developmental side where, I think Houston does a great job at developing talent. They just don't really bring in a whole lot of free agents. They're more of a homegrown type of team. And I think that's where Dallas is. Dallas is so heavily dependent upon free agents or who they can get off the bottom feeder waiver wire because Jerry ain't going to pay no damn body.
Yep.
And they basically do with that. And it's crazy.
That's Seattle. Like, we are a great developmental team.
Right.
Because we struggle to get free agents out here. Right. But I mean, you bring guys in, they'll turn third, fourth rounders into Pro Bowlers. But for whatever reason, we never do anything during free agency, very rarely do anything at the trade deadline. The two moves we did make at the trade deadline don't move the needle at all. So, I mean, it's just funny because you guys are very much like the Yankees in the way of you just go buy talent. But if anybody needs to develop, you're like, yeah, we should probably just get him out of here.
Yeah, that's why I felt like, if I'm Trey Lance, I went from a crappy situation to a really crappy situation because there's nobody out here to develop me. I got some talent, but I ain't got nobody to really develop me into that next level quarterback. I feel like, I think you're right. If you had Jerry Jones just come in and give his opinions on talent, and if you had a coach like a Belichick who is great at getting the most out of almost nothing, you put those two guys together and you can have a really, good solid team. Obviously he still needs to bring Josh McDaniels with him because I don't trust any of the offensive coordinators that Bill puts out there.
Yeah, right.
But Josh McDaniels. So if I'm bringing in Belichick, I'm definitely going to have Josh McDaniels, and I think Josh McDaniels could actually develop Trey Lance, or at least do much more with him than anybody else has done.
So the biggest problem with Trey Lance is you'll never know if he could do the job because he can't stay healthy.
And that's an issue.
It's one of the things that I actually appreciated about the way John Lynch handled it with the Niners is they didn't double down on a bad decision, right? Like, they bring him in, they gave up the farm to go get him. He gets hurt. Like, he plays like one game a year and ultimately is done for the season. And, they find a gem in Purdy, right? Now, he's not a lead or anything, but he's an above average quarterback, no question. And rather than them be like, no, you know what, we gave up 3 first rounders and a third or something like that to go get Trey Lance, let's keep trying. They're just like, you know what, it didn't work. Let's move on. And, it's something that teams need to do more than they do. It's one of the things I keep waiting for the Giants to do on Daniel Jones, right? Like, Daniel Jones had a breakout year in his contract year, ends up being a magician at the bank for it, even though most of that year was because of Saquon. But he's, underperformed ever since. Mm-hmm. Now the question is, for the Giants is, do they move on? Because they have an out on his contract at the end of this year. They're not good. They're not a good football team. Daniel Jones has been, below average across the board. And it's one of those where the Giants probably keep him for whatever reason, and they shouldn't. And so it's one thing that I did respect about the Niners. The Seahawks did something similar with Matt Flynn when they brought in Russell Wilson, right? They just paid Matt Flynn $17 million to come in, and Russell Wilson played better than him. And they're like, you know what? we'll just eat this 17 mil. This kid's the starter. It's just not something you're going to get out of Trey Lance. So ultimately, I think the Cowboys need to go ahead and move off him. It sucks for Trey Lance. I think his career is kind of over, especially when you look at the fact that he's the third option on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything you're saying is 100% correct. That's why it just frustrates me as a Dallas fan. It frustrates me because I feel like, you can choose your team. You just can't choose your ownership group. I mean, it is what it is. But what frustrates me the most about Dallas is they're not trying to get better. They're not necessarily trying to tear down and rebuild. They're just okay with being here in the middle. Not all the way crappy like Carolina, but not really great like Baltimore Ravens or anybody of those other teams you want to put out there, right? So
you know what Dallas team this makes me think of?
I'm listening.
Captain Clapp. You just look like the Jason Garrett Cowboys right now.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, I really felt like the Cowboys took a huge downturn once they went away from Wade Phillips and went to Jason Garrett. I mean, it's just been kind of like this ever since, And
can you say that you're coming off of 3 12-5 seasons, back to back to back? Like,
I get that, but I also look at it from a penalty standpoint and from a stupid standpoint, and I see them doing, seriously, like when Wade Phillips was there, that was a very disciplined, well-balanced team. I mean, they were. Now maybe they could have a little bit more talent, maybe play calling, whatever, but they were still a very disciplined team. But when Jason Garrett got that team, he took the discipline away, let it be a free-for-all, and then obviously you can't watch a Cowboys game without seeing 6 or 7 penalties. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at the playoff game where the 49ers and Dallas, and it was at the very end where they tried to get that last playoff, but they couldn't get the ball in time. Look at that. Go back and look at the first half of that game and look at all the penalties. I think they had like 10 penalties that first half alone.
So to be fair, though, you guys have always been a heavily penalized team.
But not as much so as when Wade was there. When Wade was there and Jimmy was there, it wasn't as bad. And everybody else, you're not lying. We are the most heavily penalized team. I mean, seriously. I think we had more penalty yards than we had passing yards or something. It was crazy.
If it's like you guys have had been the bottom for a long time.
And it's interesting to me though. I will tell you this: there is no more loyal fan base. I swear, dude, there is no more loyal fan base than that. It's been like, I missed that one. It's been like that since '95. Yeah, what you mean, sis?
Well,
I don't know, man.
You're talking about penalties though. The Wade Phillips era was a little bit more disciplined. In fact, those Super Bowl teams actually still had a lot of penalties.
Oh yeah, and they did, but it was a lot easier to cover up when you have really good talent.
Yeah,
well, that Cowboys team was stacked on both sides of the ball.
Wins and rings cure all. Like you could be the most undisciplined team, but if you win a ring at the end of the year, ain't nobody going to talk about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think the two best coaches in terms of bringing in talent and developing talent was Jimmy Johnson and Bill Belichick. And I would even throw Don Shula in there because of the 72 Dolphins team.
Sure.
I don't know how that guy survived and had a perfect record with a no-name defense and all the rest of it. It's crazy to me.
I mean, you have to throw Pete Carroll in on that.
Yeah, I would throw the second version of Pete Carroll because the first one with the Patriots wasn't so good.
Yeah,
Seattle Pete Carroll.
It's the Seattle version for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know what anybody says though. That Herschel Walker trade will still go down as the best trade ever in NFL history because they were able to do, because that's when they went from 1-15 in '89 to the Super Bowl champion teams in the '90s. It was all based. That one trade set all of that in motion.
Yeah. And as it sits today, the worst trade in history will be the Russell Wilson one.
Oh gosh, yes, man.
I mean. The thing that's funny is people will make the argument for Deshaun.
Yeah.
Where I disagree with it is Deshaun at least started for the team he got paid for, right?
Yeah.
Russell Wilson's with the Steelers. This is his first year getting paid by Denver.
Just
Like
let that
whole
sink in
contract.
for a minute.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, that's what I mean. His whole contract, that huge contract that he got from Denver, started this year. So he never even took a snap under that huge deal.
I wonder, because he has all this money coming in and he's not really having to honestly be on the, I mean, he hasn't produced a whole lot, but yet people are still giving him the bag. I wonder if that just fuels his I don't care attitude. Like, I don't care if I put a good product out there or don't get a good product out, because I've got money all up in the place. Cheyenne is perfectly happy with all that money I'm giving her. So I don't know if he has an incentive. That's one thing I hate about the big contracts. And that's not everybody is like that, but it just seems like a lot of times when these guys get the big contract, I'm going to use D-Law, for example. I'll bring it back home. D-Law was an amazing defensive end. And then he got the big contract, and he just, and you don't even hear hardly anything about D-Law anymore. Like, nobody cares about D-Law. Never playing. Was it Denver paying for the Steelers to make the playoff? That's got to be like, wow. Like Denver, if they ever play the Steelers, I mean, you got to think like, we're paying this guy to beat us.
At the same time, though, the Broncos aren't a bad team. So, like,
oh no, they're not a bad team.
Sean Payton's experiment here. I mean, he obviously just had a thing with Russell Wilson. Like, they did not seem to get along at all. Right. Wilson was not his dude. Yeah, fair enough. Right. So they go and draft Bo Nix. Hasn't been amazing. Didn't think he was going to be first year. But man, has that defense come to life, because that's the second ranked defense in the league.
Oh, trust me, they're on my fantasy league. I follow that defense like it's going out of style. I mean, I do. I love Denver's defense. Now, I got to tell you now, Baltimore did kick the ever-living crap out of Denver, to the point where it was -3 last week. Okay, I got -3 from Denver last week. I don't know how bad it is. I mean, I'm trying to at least get better than 0, and these dudes are giving me -3. I'm like, who are you playing for? Because you're on my team.
I mean, the Ravens are a different animal, though. The Ravens are a beast of a team.
They are. But you know what, though? Other teams have played the Ravens much better than Denver. I don't know if Denver just had a down day. I guess maybe they just had a down week or whatever. But no, I'm not saying I would never say Vikings defense is better than Denver's. There's no way.
Not a chance.
No way. No. And by the way, in our chat group, speaking of the Vikings, they put out a new logo helmet, right? And a lot of people in our chat group, they like the new helmet. They think it's fire. They think it's this, that, and the other. I'm looking at it and all I'm thinking of, is this Baltimore or Minnesota? Because if I'm channel surfing and I see that helmet, I'm automatically thinking Minnesota. I'm not even thinking Baltimore. I'm going to probably keep going.
I didn't love the helmet. I didn't love the logo on the helmet. I liked the color scheme. The matte purple with the gold. Like, I liked that. Like, it was sharp looking. I'm not a fan of the head up Raven picture, and maybe it was just too small. There was just something about it that wasn't quite right.
Yeah, it does. It looks well. Number one, it's a front view, which is always kind of weird to me. I like the side view better, but they put that front view on there, and like you said, it shrinks. When you do that front view, it just shrinks down.
Yeah, it was like super small.
Thing. Yeah, I was like, what the hell is that? But I don't understand. I just think that the color scheme that they chose is too close to the color scheme of Minnesota. That's the only thing I don't like about it,
So, I mean, not really. So the color scheme was the same as their normal helmet. It just was matte instead of shiny. It was the same color scheme.
I guess I've never seen the Ravens helmet that up close. I always thought it was a black helmet that they wore with the.
So they do have a blackout helmet.
Yeah.
Which would be.
I think that's the one. I guess when I think of the Ravens, I always associate that helmet first.
So the team I played for used a version of the Raven logo, and we used black helmets. So
I was about to say, Bo, why are you pulling up all these Raven stuff, and you're supposed to be a Seattle Seahawks fan? That'd be like me going back there and picking up a Philadelphia Eagles helmet off my thing. What the
That's
hell?
Because that was legitimately my helmet.
No, I know. I'll just give you a hard time because it does look an awful lot like the Ravens helmet. I mean, it's interesting.
Absolutely.
I play for the Ravens. Just hold it for a distance. See my helmet? I told you I play for the Ravens.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you play fantasy football, Bo?
I don't, but man, whoever had Chase and Burrow last night were absolutely killing it. If you had them both, you could have benched the entire rest of your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, because Jamar Chase, I think just Chase alone put up 55 points.
Yes.
Just by himself. So if he had Burrow, I think Burrow put up like 30. That's like almost 100 points between the two of them. And let's be honest,
Burrow should have
thankfully I didn't have to play against those two guys because there is two teams in our league. One guy has the two guys, Jamar and Burrow. The other one, believe it or not, has Henry and Lamar. And I wouldn't want to play either one of those two teams because Lamar and Henry obviously had a great day as well.
Well, so Lamar put up like 30 points. So that means Burrow had to have put up at least 40 something because he put up over 400 yards and three touchdowns.
He did have, I think, but I think he also had 2 fumbles. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he had 2 fumbles. It was either 1 or 2, but I'm pretty sure I want to say it was 2 fumbles that he had, which would have docked him about 4 points, I think, roughly.
Well, no, because there was only 1 turnover in that game, I thought.
I'm pulling it up now. Let's see here. Who had him? Pre-Marino.
But yeah, I mean,
okay, so Burrow put up 33.72 points.
Really, that's it. I would have thought it would be more.
Well, and I play on NFL.com fantasy league, so I know a lot of teams scored differently. But this one he put up 33.72, and basically what they credited him with was 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. They counted the 3 sacks against him, and he did have 2 fumbles rushing. He had 2 fumbles rushing. So both of his attempts to rush the ball, he got 6 yards, but he fumbled it both times.
Gotcha.
So but even still, I mean, think about that: 3 sacks, 2 fumbles, but yet you still walk away with 33 points. I mean, it's still a pretty damn good day if he's your starting quarterback, right? I mean,
no question. Yeah.
And that was a close game, honestly. I couldn't believe how close the Bengals and the Ravens got, which again goes back to if the Bengals could play them that well, what the hell's going on with Denver? Damn it. I mean, it's just ass backwards.
No, it's not though, because it's a divisional game. So,
and I understand that. Okay, I'll take that into consideration because I know division rivals do play each other harder. But
no question,
man.
Well, I mean, think about the years when either the Eagles have been good and the Cowboys have been bad, or vice versa, right?
Right.
How does that game go down? Regardless of records, it's a battle every time. I mean, this weekend's won't be because everybody's hurt, but I mean,
you're right. I mean,
generally,
there's a lot of injuries in the league right now. A lot.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know if that's because maybe they I guess stretched out the season or the preseason or whatever, maybe even the fact that a lot of teams didn't start their starters during the preseason.
It's that right there. The first few weeks of the year are most of your starters preseason. And so some of those bumps and bruises that they get, the first couple of weeks of preseason where they get a heal from them and be back for the first week of the year. Now they're missing weeks of the season because they're getting hurt over the first, 2 to 4 weeks. Then they miss, 3 to 5 weeks healing up from something. And so now you're just now getting them back. And I don't love not having your players play in preseason. You already don't let them practice in full speed anymore. Most of your preseason is walkthroughs. They're not allowed to hit. And then they wonder why tackling is bad. It's like, well, you don't let them. Like they never get a practice. How do you think they're going to get better?
You have to know how to take the hit and give the hit. I mean, and if you're not used to that, then your body's going to react the wrong kind of way. And injuries are going to happen.
Yeah, not only are you going to get injured, but you're going to miss a lot of tackles because you're just not doing the reps.
For sure. Well, we already see that anyway. I mean, let's be honest. Fundamental tackling doesn't actually exist in the NFL. I mean, I think that kind of starts getting faded out, throughout your college career. And then by the time you hit the pros, I mean, you're just whatever. I mean, the game is faster, but the fundamentals are terrible.
And that's the worst part is the game's faster. The people are bigger. And you're just not going to take reps at one of the most important pieces of defense is wrapping up. Like, I don't understand how we're supposed to make this game better. And
that's the thing. And I know you'll agree with me on this. I mean, you obviously have played, semi-pro ball. So I know you know this probably better than anybody. Is I feel like, in the preseason, it should be an equal balance of finding out what you got in the new guys to see who you're going to roster cut, and then also getting your starters enough time and reps to where they're ready for the season. And I think, that's a natural progression, as you go through the preseason. You may start out, with your starters maybe doing the first series on both sides of the ball. And then as you go through, they then it becomes less and less of the evaluation side and more of the getting ready side, as you get deeper into the preseason. But, it just seems like they're not even really doing that. Like you said, they're not even playing them hardly at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost all evaluation.
There's been like some teams have, right? Like there seems to be kind of a weird split. Like some teams will put their starters out there and some teams don't. Some teams will play their guys in some of the joint practices, but not all teams participate in joint practices.
Right.
This year, Seattle did for the first time ever,
right,
against Tennessee. But there's still a bunch of teams that just don't participate in the joint team practice.
So that is a perfect thing to do. I don't know why they don't. I mean, obviously you're going to show your tricks in the bag, right? You're going to keep the tricks in the bag covert. But you go out there and you run some basic plays just so your guys can see how different people hit, how different people attack, different types of defense. I mean, just to see all that stuff that you would not see on a mundane
game
doing the same thing.
Like that's the biggest thing for me is it's actually game speed. So you need guys to get those reps because you don't get you don't get game speed in practice anyway. But you also just aren't getting the practice to run. I don't know. It's frustrating. Like I get they're trying not to get guys hurt and concussions, and I get all of that. But at the same time, we're just watching especially the first 5 weeks of football,
right?
Are terrible football,
right? Which, by the way, look, Miami and Tua, if you're listening, bro, there's time that you permanently wear the damn Guardian cap. Like, go out there with the damn Guardian cap, put your little logo on, right?
Yeah.
But you need to go out there with that helmet on because, I mean, with the guy like 3 concussions in just a few years, I'm like, why would you? I mean, that would be my priority. If I'm Miami, I'm like, hey, look, I know you may not want to wear this crap, but you're gonna wear it, especially with the way you play. Because this guy didn't, sometimes he has gotten a little bit better with the sliding this year, but he takes a lot of crazy chances. I'm like,
I'm actually a little surprised. I mean, I understand why they didn't because the league is so funny about their uniforms. Where they'll fine you for wearing the wrong cleats and stuff. So, I mean, they don't want you messing with their uniforms. But I'm actually a little surprised that the league didn't dictate to him, like, hey, you've had a few of these over the years. It seems to be a very real issue. We want you to wear this. But the problem is it wouldn't have mattered for the particular concussion that he just got anyway, because he initiated that contact. And it was because he did everything you don't do in fundamental football. He drops his head, pushes it to the side, initiates the contact. And I mean, that was on him. And a Guardian cap wouldn't have helped that because it wasn't a hard hit to the head per se. It was actually jarring from the side. Guardian cap's not going to do anything with that.
I mean, and you're right. And there are going to be times when it won't, but still, I mean, it's at least a little bit more protection than what you had. I just wonder, with all the advancements that, NFL probably puts into their equipment design and things like that to make the game, I guess, quote unquote, safer. Yep. Do you don't think that they'll ever go to a Guardian cap type of thing? Like the league itself wouldn't move into that and say, okay,
the league doesn't want it.
Here's each one of you guys' helmets to wear uniform.
Yeah, no, the league doesn't want it. Because they look goofy, and
they do look goofy.
The biggest thing for the league is they're only allowing it because they don't want to get sued. Like that's the only reason it's even an option, but they're never going to push it as you have to do it because they don't like the look, which rightfully so. Yeah. But at the same time, they're so funny about how clean and crisp the uniforms are. And let's be honest, when you see a guy with one on, it's not clean and crisp, right? Like it's not. It's back over your helmet.
Yeah. So the NFL would rather look good and have you not know where your mailbox is.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know why.
I'm poking fun at it, but I mean, it's true. I mean, right?
I don't know why anyone pretends that the league cares about player safety. They don't.
I know. That's why I said quote unquote, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, they care about getting sued. That's what the league cares about. They care about protecting the brand. That's how they protect their brand.
Yeah, they look at that bottom line like everybody else.
Yeah, because otherwise, you'd still be able to horse collar people if the league had their way. So, I mean, and the big hits would still be there. Like, the league doesn't care. But they do care about losing money. And that's why these player safety things have come about. It's why that, after you're done playing, their healthcare thing ends after 5 years.
Yeah.
None of the long-term effects have taken place yet. That's why they ended up with that class action lawsuit in the first place. So they have their window of still having healthcare coverage. Just, it's kind of like a car warranty, right? Like the day after your car warranty, that's when your stuff starts really falling apart. That is kind of how their 5-year thing is. It's like, oh yeah, your knees got beat up the whole time you were playing. They're definitely going to fail, but they're not going to fail in the first 5 years.
No, that's like the military. Like, when you go for airborne, and you're jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, the military is automatically, by the time you get discharged, they're going to give you, the VA will come out and just give you a straight 30% right up off the rip. Because they know that, because you have to do X amount of jumps per month in order to get that stipend that they will give you extra money, right? But the problem is they know that when you do X amount of jumps, by the time you're done with your career, you're going to need new knees. And so that's why they're going to give you that 30%.
Yeah. Cartilage is gone.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so, and I guess that maybe the NFL looks at like there's a certain amount of risk or a certain amount of risk reward factor when we do what we do. I mean,
of course.
And as a player, I mean, that's I can understand why they want all that damn money, because I'm sure their medical bills aren't cheap, and I don't know how much the medical bill the team covers. I don't know if the players have to cover any of that medical expense. They probably don't.
So after the 5 years, it's on the players.
Okay.
So they have the medical coverage through the league for like 5 years after they retire, and then that's it. You're done. You're on your own.
So if you do like a 20-year career,
what's up, Bobby?
15 of those years are going to be you paying for your own medical insurance.
No. You have it while you're in the league.
Okay.
Right. And then you still have coverage. I believe it's 5 years. It used to be anyway.
Oh, it's 5 years after they leave.
Correct. And then that's it.
Okay.
And then it's over. So, but the problem with a lot of these sports injuries is, when do they get bad? Well, it's years later. Right. Yeah. Well, the coverage from the league's already gone.
Oh, yeah.
So now it's, if you need knee replacement, stuff like that, that's on you. Right. Like that's on you later in life, whatever. Now, if it happens to fall in that window, then the league picks it up, and that's part of it.
Oh, for sure. I was thinking about this the other day. Even if you just even if I just retired out as a bottom rung guy, whatever, third string, whatever, what is it? Their retirement, don't they get like $200,000 a year after they retire? Isn't that like their retirement pay or whatever per year?
So they don't have like a forever pension, if that's what you mean.
Okay, I thought it was once they retire, they still get a salary of $200,000. I don't know. I read that. I thought I read that somewhere. I don't know.
And it's still a union. So I mean, from what I understand, it changes all the time. So I don't know, but it used to be that it had to do with how long you were in the league, stuff like that.
Right.
Well, kind of like being at a company, right? You got to be vested for a certain amount of time, whatever. So some of them end up with some money, but yeah, I mean, from what I understand, once you're done, you're kind of done.
Yeah, that's why they're always trying to get that bag, and I don't blame them. I mean,
well, it's why you got to be smart with the money.
Yeah,
right?
You do.
There's so many of these guys that played in the league, they do dumb stuff with it, and then they're broke.
Yeah. That's why I like Jalen Hurts. Not that I like the Eagles, because I don't like the Eagles, but I mean, that's obvious, right? But Jalen Hurts, he is from my hometown. Like, I lived in North Shore. He's from Channelview. But they butt up next to each other. So sometimes North Shore has played Channelview in the high school football in the past. But anyway, long skinny of it, he lives out in Humble, Texas now, and I think he lives in a modest home. I think his parents even live with him. But it's a very modest. I mean, it's not even $1 million home. It's less than $1 million that he lives in, and this guy's got hundreds of millions. But he doesn't live like that, which is one of the things I wish more people in athletics would adopt, but I know everybody wants that flashy lifestyle, right?
Well, it was one of the things I always liked about like Marshawn Lynch, He
Right.
basically survived on his endorsement money and didn't really touch any of his salary.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right? He saved all of it.
absolutely.
So I mean, incredibly smart, because that sets up the rest of your life. It's the people like Antonio Brown who put in a $200,000 fish tank in his house, and I mean, you're just like,
Yeah.
dude, this money isn't going to last forever. Like
Yeah.
your window
Yeah.
in the NFL is actually relatively short over the scheme of
Yeah.
your life,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it's always funny when you see these guys that are out there just buying all kinds of ridiculous stuff. It's like, man, like that's going to be tough. Or they buy like the biggest house they could ever purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And
once
they
that
don't
money stops
realize,
coming in,
yeah,
you
they don't
still have
realize, yeah, they don't realize
property
the operating.
taxes.
Yeah. Well, hell, property taxes is a part of it, but you got the operating costs, you got
Yeah.
the maintenance costs,
No,
you
for
got,
sure.
all
Yeah,
the other things that
unless
goes
you're
along with owning a home cost, and everything's magnified by this ginormous mansion, this
Exactly.
30,000 square foot mansion that only one guy lives in, probably doesn't even see 3/4 of his house.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, no,
the
he probably
bank
sees
goes
all of
in
it
there and says,
after. He probably sees all of it afterwards, because he's going to spend an entire day vacuuming the thing. Like,
oh, they ain't vacuuming. They got a lady in there called Manuela, and all she does is vacuum and dust
hey,
and pick up things that she's like, oh my God, where
not
did
after
this come from? This is not in my job description.
not after that NFL money stops coming in. All of a sudden, you have a
Oh,
fleet of
yeah.
Roombas.
Oh no, then they go to 3 wins. Let me tell
Yeah.
you something. I'll be honest with you. If I had the kind of, when I retired out of football, 100 million, 200, whatever it is, like if I had like, Patrick Mahomes kind of money, right? I take all that damn cash flow the minute I retire, and I go straight to the freaking Philippines or Indonesia or Thailand, where that money is like triple what it is.
So
like you're living the lifestyle.
Yeah, so you don't need to do that if you have Mahomes money.
But even still, though, Patrick Mahomes, even with his money, he still has to pay property taxes on that. I mean, there's still inherent, but he does have an endless flow of money, right? I mean, endorsements, whatever.
That's the thing. If you had Mahomes money, where your contract is $500 million, you're going to be fine. It's the players that have, they finish their career with a couple $1 million, right? Like that second stringer, third stringer, right? Like those are the guys that you got to make some decisions on what it is you're trying to do. If you're making $100+ million, you're going to be able to live here in the U.S. just fine forever.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's interestingly enough, since we're talking about money and stuff, when I worked for the corrections department, they would take a certain amount of money out of your paycheck every time, whether you elected to or not. You are forced into taking so much money out and put into this little 401k that they had, right? And you couldn't touch it until you hit 65 or whatever. But so that was money that was taken out regardless. And I think, and I relate that to Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson had, somebody in his circle was smart enough to tell him, hey, put this X amount of millions into a trust that you can't touch till you're at this age, and then live your life. And then he, of course, he did like everybody else. He blew through all of his money. But then when he hit that trust, he was smart enough and old enough to now know how to manage the money better. So when he got that trust, he was still okay and perfectly fine.
Exactly.
And I think, and I wish the league would kind of take that corrections department and Allen Iverson experience and incorporate that into rookies when they come in the league and say, look, I know you're not going to like this, but we're going to take X millions, 2 million, 3 million, whatever, and we're going to throw it into this account for you. So when you retire and you hit a certain age, this money will then become available. I think a lot of people that like the Antonio Browns that blow through all that money, would appreciate, okay, my play career's over, and I ain't.
Well, maybe not Antonio.
You got something, right?
As his brain's a little scrambled, but
that's true. I mean, let's be honest.
For sure. And speaking of money, brought to you in part by BetUS. Bet us, however it is you want to say it. Use the QR code on the screen. Get up to 125% of your first 3 deposits. 10% bet guarantee if you happen to lose. Restrictions do apply, but you can bet right alongside us here at Coast to Coast. And of course, if you have not had your ducts cleaned in the last year or maybe even longer, heading into the winter months with the doors closed, allergens are high. And one of those things is dirty ducts. And of course, there's also the fact that more than 15,000 dryer fires happen every year. If you haven't had that done in the last year, even if you're not here in the Northwest to use Archer duct cleaning, use it wherever you are. Help protect your home. All right.
If nobody ever tells you, Bo, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, you do the best segues I have ever seen. I don't know how you do it. It's weird, but every time, I don't care what it is we're talking about, you will take whatever we're talking about and roll it right into that commercial. And I got to tell you, you're like, I'm not just trying to toot your horn. I mean, honestly, my observation, I'm like, this guy could just transition so well.
Yeah, you know, gotta try and get the sponsors in there, right?
Oh, you do a good job. Stat guy, what's up?
What's happening, man? But you're muted, so I got you. Oh, you
don't have that button on your steering wheel?
Stop pushing the button. I got you.
Push it one more time and leave it alone. Push it one more time.
Now it's not letting me unmute you. So
I love the dentist. It's so much fun.
Well, you must be high on Novocaine because you can't even operate your phone. Do you even know how fast you're going?
No, it wasn't letting me fix it on my end either. Like I would hit it and then it would say the host has muted you, so then I would let it go and then it showed red again, so then I would hit it and then it said the host has muted you. I'm like, what the hell?
No, that's why I said stop pushing the button. You're killing me, Smalls.
Bo is straight up fucking with you. He's like, he's like, watch this, Jay.
I was getting pretty close to just moving you out of the studio altogether.
What a time. What a time.
I like it.
Oh, that's a good one. You know what? I appreciate. I'll take a ribbon if it's a good ribbon. That's a good one.
Why am I talking funny? Because I just had my mouth ripped out of the damn dentist office.
I mean, that's fine.
Hey, one thing I love about a dentist is that's the only job you can get paid for to actually inflict pain on somebody and enjoy it. I always think a Little Shop of Horrors to Steve Martin when I go to the dentist, and I swear if he pulls out them pliers, I'm so running.
Oh, it's the drill with like the auger bit where it's like shaking your head.
Yeah.
It's like, you got like
I love it. Give me more.
That's the one that got me today.
Tooth chunks jumping out of your face. It's I believe there was a horror film just called The Dentist, right?
I mean, hey, I was the guinea pig today because apparently they got a new tool and I was the first one that used it on. So that was a little terrifying.
Oh, nice.
Did they make you sign a waiver or a consent form, or they just went?
Well, they made you sign something to basically say that it's a new tool that they want to use. And they will not let anyone use it without signing off on it. I'm like, what the hell? I'm here anyways.
You're like,
it always scares me when you got to sign a consent form to have something go into my mouth.
Right.
That makes me nervous right up off the rip. I'm like, nope.
All of a sudden you sign that form and they're like pull starting the thing. Sounds like a chainsaw. You're like, wait a minute.
So like those little pricky things that they use to clean your teeth.
Oh
yeah.
It was a mechanical one of those that had like a built-in water pick attached to it. So as it's like scraping the plaque off your teeth, it's also like shooting water in between your teeth. Like, yeah. So it's like a 2-in-1 type of thing. I'm like, oh, this is weird, but I'll try it.
No, it actually makes sense they have you sign off on it because if they do it wrong, the water jet can cut you pretty good.
Yeah.
So I get the idea of them wanting to sign up. Plus, if you have a filling that's starting to come loose, it might just rip the thing out.
Yep.
That guy's like, why am I spitting on the side of my cheek? Water should be coming out there. Well, sir, you signed the waiver.
That's right.
Here's some Bondo cream. See if you can fill it up in there.
Oh, no. You just got to be a punk rocker from there. They're giving you the gauge ring, right? You're just going to have a hole there forever.
Hey, you start getting worried until they bring out the caulking gun and they're trying to put caulking in there. With that little thumb attachment. It was real good.
So, I mean, I know Stat Guy had an NBA rant, and with time rolling out, might as well do that for you. What is your what do you got?
I mean, apparently douchebaggy athletes run common in Wisconsin nowadays. I guess Giannis basically had a closed door meeting with Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham, who was the Lakers' assistant head coach, who the Bucks brought back this year as their top assistant.
Okay.
And Giannis basically told Darvin Ham that he's a clueless, intelligent head coach that has no idea what the hell he is doing, and then gave Doc Rivers an ultimatum that you either fire Darvin Ham or I am leaving.
Wow. Okay. I mean, the problem is the NBA allows their players to do this. So,
yeah,
I mean,
but
it doesn't matter what your contract is. You can just force your way out there, which is the most bizarre thing.
But this is something that Giannis has never done. Like, there's been reports the last couple of years that he's kind of not happy, and he's talked about leaving Milwaukee after the contract is up, but not to the point where he's flat out threatened to leave like he did the other day. But it's just funny because the Green Bay Packers had the same situation happen with Aaron Rodgers, where once he started getting all the power that he got, he let it get to his head, and then he started basically running the Packers, and now he's trying to do the same thing with the Jets. And you can say the same thing about Giannis. Like, he wasn't this type of person until he got that big contract, and once he got that big contract and they gave him some control, he thinks that he runs that team now and is trying to dictate what that team does and doesn't do.
I mean, I get it to some degree because he wants to win.
Yeah.
I get the frustration because I would also want to win.
I would too, but your organization is the one that fired a head coach they never should have fired.
Oh, agreed. But he also didn't decide who they hired either.
Yeah, he did actually. It was his idea to hire Adrian Griffin because Giannis and Adrian Griffin had a very good relationship through something. I forgot how they said they
No. I mean his replacement.
Doc?
Yeah.
Giannis signed off on it. They even went to Giannis with 3 names as to who Giannis wanted to replace Adrian Griffin, and Giannis signed off on Doc.
Wow. I don't know why you would do that, but okay. Maybe he's having some buyer's remorse.
He signed off on Doc because he basically said Doc's got a proven track record when it comes to being a winning coach in the regular season, which in his defense, that's correct. Doc is a top 10 head coach all time when you look at his regular season winning percentage. He's got a great regular season winning percentage. It's just that he cannot win in the playoffs. So, I mean, it was kind of
Mike McCarthy of the NBA.
Yes. I mean, you could say the same thing about Mike Budenholzer. Like, Mike Budenholzer, if you look at the all-time winningest coaches in NBA history, Mike Budenholzer actually has the 4th highest winning percentage all time in the regular season. Like, Mike Budenholzer is a genius regular season head coach, but when he gets to the playoffs, his winning percentage in the playoffs is only a 400. So, I mean, yes, he has that one NBA title with the Bucks, but he's not a great playoff head coach either.
I wonder where Monty Williams fits in there, because I feel like Monty Williams is a good coach too. He just has a hard time in the playoffs, especially with the Phoenix Suns. You know, I felt like that really was his moment to get a championship ring was with those guys, and it just didn't happen.
But you had Chris Paul.
Obviously, being with the Pistons hurt Monty Williams' winning percentage because that really did not work out in his favor at all.
Sure.
But I mean, his overall winning percentage, I believe, is like 558, which that's not that good of a winning percentage. Like, that's playoff caliber.
Yeah, you're barely above 500 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's like basically
you're a little bit better than average.
That's like a 46-40 wins, 46 to 47 win season on average, which will get you into the playoffs. But it's not like, wow, you're a great head coach.
Yeah,
I mean, he had like a couple good years in New Orleans. That's where he banked on his success. And outside of that, he's never really had a ton of success. He's had 1 or 2 good seasons during the regular season, but then that's about it. Otherwise, he's basically a 500 coach.
Yeah. You know, after that, you know, I don't know if y'all saw that, but, you know, obviously, when, you know, Steve Kerr and what's his name? Why's my mind going blank? You know, I'm talking about the Steph Curry. Why was it? My mind.
I had if you're reaching for another coach.
That's where I thought he was going too.
Obviously, Steph Curry and Steve Kerr. You know, they had that jarring in the last game they had, and I thought it was interesting. I love Steph Curry because no matter how good this guy is, and he is really freaking good. He got 4 titles, 3-point champion, all that, right? But he still says, I like to be coached. I don't take it offensively. He is like the ultimate guy that I would want on my team because he just has such a great way and a very maturity in his approach to the game. Not only is he a great player, but he's just all around, really good. And you put that with Steve Curry, and it tells me just now why Golden State is at the top of the Western Conference, even though they lost Klay Thompson and whatever, and they didn't have a good year last year. But man, they bounced back, and it's just because I think that team has really good fundamental leadership in it.
Well, one of the things I always appreciated about Tiger Woods was even when he was dominating everything, he would feel something start to shift in his swing, and he'd get a swing coach. Be like, hey, what am I doing wrong? Right? One of the most dominant golfers ever.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's still like, oh, you know what? There's something off. Tell me what isn't right.
Tiger Woods is good when you got a geriatric back and your knees are shot and your legs been mangled, and yet you're still out there and at least making the cuts, even sometimes getting a little bit higher in the cuts. I mean, that just shows you how good of a golfer he was.
For sure.
I mean, you look at Steve Kerr, though, like the thing that Steve Kerr has going for him, which is why I think he's such a good head coach, is he played with Michael Jordan for 9 years of his career and got 6 rings out of it. So he played with Michael Jordan and had Phil Jackson as his head coach.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Then he goes from playing to be Greg Popovich's assistant. So you go from playing for one of the best head coaches all time to now learning from one of the best coaches head time. Then after he left the Spurs, he was the Phoenix Suns GM for 5 years when they had Steve Nash, Sean Marion, and Amari Stoudemire, and were basically the top team in the Western Conference for 4 or 5 years. And then once he left Phoenix, he took that Golden State job. So every position he's been in, he's been either with one of the greatest head coaches of all time, he's had one of the best players of all time, and he's just been around so many good basketball minds, which is what's helped him be as successful as he's been everywhere he's gone.
Sure. Oh, no doubt. I mean, when you're stuck on a championship experience nipple for that long, how can you not be great? Because you've had so much, like you said, so many examples of what championship teams look like and what their chemistry is, and rotations, how to do your rotations. I mean,
he's done it every way, and he's done it every way too. Like he's done it as a player, he's done it as a coach, like learning how to coach certain players, learning how to coach your rotations and things like that. Yep. Even though the Phoenix Suns never won a championship, he still built a championship caliber roster as a GM, whether it was through the draft or through trade. So he's done everything that you can do in an organization and has been successful at everything that he's done.
But that's what I love about the Steve Kerr, Steph Curry relationship. Even Steve Kerr said, in his press conference, I love Steph Curry because he lets me yell at him. I mean, they just have a great, and Steph Curry wants to be yelled at. He wants to be coached. And when you got a player of that caliber and a coach of that caliber, and neither one of their feelings gets hurt and they can both speak openly to each other, I mean, how could you not have a great team? I mean, and I think those are the intangibles. I think that gets lost sometimes when we're making draft selections, whether it be MLB, NBA, NFL. It's all those X factors. Like, can this guy be coached? Does he have a tough tenacity? Does he get his feelings hurt? What's his football like? A lot of those things, I feel like those things get put by the wayside when we see the razzle dazzle catches or whatever, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean the main takeaway there is remain coachable. If you've been watching alongside us right here on Coast to Coast, be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube channel. And of course, if you're watching on Roku TV, be sure to stay tuned for the next hour. Other than that, we will see you all on Monday. Enjoy the games this weekend.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports Podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast Podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand.